Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Gaming Podcast, episode 17, I think it is now. I'm Bradley and I've just checked, and after doing a few laps around Silverstone to test his eyesight, I'm joined by Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Not bad. Although you stole my joke, I was just going to use that one as well. But I think everybody in the country is going to be using that joke over the course of today, at least.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to go too much into it because it's just completely depressing. Even for a podcast that talks about mental health for the most part. Yeah, I don't want to go into the whole Dominic Cummings thing.
Nope.
It's a mess. So yeah, we'll dive straight into games, shall we?
Oh, why not?
I know you said to me off air you've not played much, but you're going to have played something at least. So what have you been playing, Stu?
Well, my PC carked it over the weekend and I've managed to fix it, but it got tanked by an update. I don't know which one. And it was one of those where you're just crying and huddling in a corner while shaking, trying to work out what's gone wrong. So eventually I just had to nuke it and start again. And each update I've done since, I've taken a full backup after each one and just wrapping it in cotton wool. So that scrubbed like 2 days of gaming out. So really frustrating. But I've managed to play some games on my Switch, and I've been playing this shoot 'em up collection by Pixel Heart, and I'm going to be reviewing it for the site. And it's a collection of 3, 2 horizontals, 1 vertical shooter. They're done in a 16-bit sort of style, and they're sort of, I would describe them as cheap but cheerful, really. Yeah. They don't bring anything particularly exciting to the genre, or innovations for that matter, but they're fun enough and they're tight. That's really pretty much it for this week. It's been a weird one. I've been busy with lots of other bits and bobs. How about you?
Well, I just want to check with the shmup collection. Is that right?
I think shmup, yeah.
Yeah. Are they actual retro games into a collection, or are they all new games? That's the one thing that confused me when I first saw it. I wasn't sure if they were existing games.
Yeah, they're existing games. They've been out for quite a few years, and in fact, I'd played one of them, Armed 7, before on my PC when it was for sale. I think, I'm not sure quite how old, but probably at least 5 years, maybe 6 or 7 even, some of them. And they've just been dragged together onto Switch because obviously it's now the home of shoot-em-ups.
Yeah, I know you said that it doesn't do anything innovative or anything like that, but I remember when I used to go to the local arcades and that when I was younger, and I'd be able to bounce off any of the shoot 'em up style games just with these because they was all very similar. I think it's one of those weird genres. I don't think it needs any major innovation. I'm happy, for me anyway, just to play the same sort of game with a different skin. Whereas if FIFA did that, I'd be well peeved.
I know what you mean. No, I'm pretty happy just playing stuff that's taken all the best elements and stuck them all together and made sure that, there's no glitching and crashing and it flows seamlessly. It's a pretty low bar to meet, but when the genre's been going for like 35 years, then sometimes that's enough. But there's definitely room for innovation, and I think structure is part of it. I won't go into a big thing of it, but if you look at the most recent Darius game, Darius Burst, that had some good ideas in it, especially about branching paths and the types of ships that you can get and stuff like that and what they brought to the table. It's a really big release and it has a lot of depth to it. I'm not into vertical shooters, but I know a lot of people get excited by Cave and their stuff, and I think they brought quite new innovations over the last few years. So there's room. It's more difficult, I think, because it's so established. But yeah, no, I'll just play through something that's, dumb and full of brightly coloured neon bullets. That'll do me.
So what was your first shooter that you remember playing?
That's a great question. I think in terms of like the classic side scroller, horizontal shoot 'em up, I think it was Sidearms. The Capcom game, I think, was 87. It might have been 86. It was not long before R-Type came along and blew everything away. And God, I can't even say that today. R-Type is one of my favourite games of all time. It's probably my favourite shoot-'em-up series of all time as well. Close by Gradius or Gradius, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And so that was the first of the classic style. But I played Space Invaders when I was really, really little, and that was probably the game that got me into games in the first place.
But that I think that, along with Pong and something like Tetris, I think they're the sort of games, they're like the seeds of all games, those sort of ones. For me, it was Defender. I got an Atari, I want to say a 2700, I want to say.
Yeah, 2600.
Junior.
Oh, right, okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was about 3 when I got it. And I got given that, and it came with Centipede and Defender. And I remember just playing Defender forever. But I don't think I've ever managed to get better ability-wise than Defender, because on the Atari, it was quite a slow game. It wasn't able to throw all the enemies and bullet hell type stuff at you that some of them can do now. So I've never been able to adjust. I've expected, I like the ones that are slower paced and aren't bullet hell. But yeah, Defender, and it's still, I went back to it about 4 or 5 years ago to give it a go, and it's really weird. It still holds up.
No part of that game is aged at all.
No. Defender 2 was shit.
I've never played it. But yeah, I played Defender. I went to an arcade pop-up, I think I've mentioned it before, in Bristol in, I think it was November, might have been October, and played Defender and Centipede there. And they are completely timeless. There's no bias, because my wife had never played them before, and she played them, and she was like, oh yeah, I'll give them a go. And then she was just like glued to them, and people were kind of hitting her with sticks to get them off them and have a go. So yeah, absolutely timeless stuff, and peerless as well.
So yeah, definitely. So that's pretty much all you've been playing, yeah, that in terms of games.
Yeah, although that reminds me, I've been playing a bit of Nex Machina, and we mentioned it in a section of the podcast last week that got cut because it overran. So just a very brief bit on Nex Machina, that it's a arena shooter, a bit like Smash TV or Robotron. It's made with voxels, so it's got flying cubes all over the place that were really cool. I don't think it's perfect. I think there's some sort of fairly glaring errors in its design that stop it being a classic, and it could have been one of the absolute greats. But as it stands, it's really good fun and a great time sink, and very much more of one of those one more go games that you don't put down and you find out it's 3 a.m. and your wife's going to leave you type of games. So yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, I had a little go based on that last week, just a little jumping in again, and I'm still rubbish at it, but it's still fun. Yeah, it's a fun game. It's one of those that you can just pick up and play, and they're always great to have around. But for me, I've been playing 3 games I've been playing, and I'm only going to touch briefly on a couple of them. There'll be reviews up for them. So I've been playing Turmoil, which is an oil digging business sim in a way. It's a 2D 8 to 16 bitish era style graphic, where you run an oil company, you go into competition with other oil companies, and you have to dig for oil, sell the oil when the price is high, store it when it's low, and try and maximize your profits. And as you go, you can earn upgrades, you can buy new equipment, and it's an interesting game because it looks so very simplistic in how it's done, but the nuance to it is just loads of nuance to the way it works. You can play at a very base level of just watching when the numbers are high or when the numbers are low and doing your actions based on then, and you'll get through. But you can really go in depth with it as well. But because of the style, where it's just this 2D effect, side-on game, you don't get lost like other Sims do, where, the city builders and park builders and that, I find those sometimes could be just a bit overwhelming, a bit confusing to know what goes where, what you should be doing at any one time. And this simplifies it down while keeping the depth. Came out a few years ago on PC, and it's just got a Switch port, and it was a game I really liked at the time that I felt really flew under the radar, and next to no one, apart from absolute fans of the genre and proper gamer geeks, knew of. So again, coming to the Switch, it'd be good to see it get a new audience and hopefully earn some of the commercial success that it so rightly deserves. But yeah, there's not much really else to add to that one. It's just a really good game. I've also been playing Red Wings Aces of the Sky, which is a aerial dogfighting arcade game that I was hoping was going to be Crimson Skies or that Snoopy one on the Xbox 360. Snoopy Flying Ace.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, that was. I looked at it and just went, "Oh, Snoopy flying game. It's going to be cheap cash in," but gave it a go and it was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. It is the sequel that Crimson Skies deserved. Unfortunately, again, I don't think it was a massive commercial success and it didn't really get the attention it deserved. So for the past few years, I've been hankering after another Crimson Skies. And Red Wings looked like it. And there's a lot of elements that work really well. The actual combat within the game is really, really good. You never feel like all the enemies you're against are cannon fodder. You know, you feel like you're in battles all the time. You're having to really switch between like tailing someone and going offensive to then having to do a barrel roll or just do a quick turn to try and avoid and then get defensive and maybe get to the clouds for some cover. It's just the combat is so satisfying. Unfortunately, the story is based around the Red Baron, which is fine because I think the Red Baron is an interesting story anyway. But the story itself and the campaign, just I don't know, it just wasn't quite there. It felt flat, it felt repetitive, and it just didn't feel right with some of the level choices. So most of it's done this 3D behind the plane view, as you'd expect, and then there's this weird top-down bombing section that just doesn't feel cohesive with the game itself, and that just feels really weird and out of place. And then, like a lot of games try and do when it comes to flying, they've got this mission where you have to fly through various rings to refuel your plane. And as a level on its own, where you're just trying to beat something, it just doesn't make sense in a campaign mode. So where it does come into its own, though, is there's a survival mode where you've got easy, normal, or hard, and you just go against wave after wave of enemy planes, like each wave being more aggressive or more in number than the previous. And that is really good. And I would have rather seen all the different modes they had in the campaign just put into individual ideas as a score attack rather than this story mode behind it that just did not work. Because to play it, it's really, really good. And even though it isn't the next Crimson Skies, it's close enough to scratch that itch. But it's just the fluff around it, unfortunately, goes from being a game that would be perfect in your daily rotation to being one that I've played now, and I'm probably just going to let that drift to the back of the Switch somewhere and probably not pick it up again, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, sometimes just missing that small element of brilliance or not even brilliance, but, outstandingness, just something that marks something above. If it's missing, then you can just drift off.
Yeah, it's balance. I mean, when you look at something like Lonely Mountains downhill, the mountain biking game, that just went for, look, here's a mountain, complete these tasks, get some new bits, unlock the mountain, and that's it. And then it's a time attack game, a leader where you're chasing scores on a leaderboard, and that's what you want. It's just pure. And if this had gone for that style where it was just pure, I think it would have been a definite must-have game to have on the go at all time. But if they decide to follow this up, I'll definitely give any kind of sequel of this a definite look, because the base of it is absolutely superb. And finally, I've been playing Atomic Ops from Raw Fury. And yeah, that's an interesting game. It's a farming simulator, twin stick shooter, roguelike.
Right.
And it's really weird. I mean, it's Stardew Valley if Stardew Valley happened after the apocalypse, I suppose. So basically, when I first heard it described, I was worried what this would be like. If it was a bit Stardew Valley, but with bullet hell twin stick stuff thrown in, how would that actually work? And I was like, I'm not sure this is going to be as good as they're describing, but it is. So the way it works is you enter a new level, and because it is roguelike, basically you're doing that a lot. You're entering a brand new state every single time. But you enter a level, you get given 4 seeds you pick up, and you plant them in a designated area. You then water them, and any enemies you kill will give you fertilizer. You then use that fertilizer to grow your crops bigger and make them more valuable. And then you take them back at the end of the day, and you then sell them to get a currency, which you use then to upgrade your equipment, your health, all different kinds of things like that. But at the same time, there are these mutant type and bugs and animals and what have you that are trying to take your crops and destroy your crops. So you have to defend them, but you also have to go exploring to try and take down other animals to get more seeds that you can plant and other upgrades and equipment, that sort of thing. And everything you collect in one day, you keep with you and you take into the next day. So if you just plant some crops and don't go and choose something else, you haven't got anything to take back with you. So you then have to go and find that stuff first, which then eats into your growing time. And of an evening, you then have to make sure all you're doing is protecting your crops. So it's got these different segments to it. But what you can do, this is kind of really weird, where it's got like the farming life management to it, is once you go back and you're in the hub world, you've got your stalls where you can get your upgrades and everything. But you've also got people you can start relationships with, and you can build up a relationship with them, and they give you additional perks. So it's kind of got that Stardew Valley-esque thing in the hub world, not within the main meat of the game. But it all ties together really, really well. It's not easy. It's a bloody difficult game. I've been through it countless times so far, and I don't think I've got that far in it. But the general gameplay is one that I just keep wanting to go back to. It is a really fascinating take on a few different genres, and it comes together so well. It's simple, it's fast paced, but it's not overly convoluted at the same time, even though the description of it is. Once you're in, it just makes so much sense. Yeah, absolutely. That's one that will be into my regular rotation, that's for sure.
Cool.
Also played Bug Fables, and apart from a weird, I didn't even want to say it was a save bug, because it may not have been. It may have been my incompetence. I had to repeat the opening half hour of that game 7 times to do this for review, because it just wouldn't save. And even if I died, it didn't have a save point. And if I turned it off after saving, it hadn't registered the saving. All of a sudden, even without an update, it started working. Really weird, but it's a Paper Mario-esque game that feels like it's made on a budget, but it's a really good game. Like, once you get past that, and you can trust me on this, once you get past that first half hour, for the 7th time, the game really opens up and becomes interesting. But that first bit is, honestly, it's mundane, and it makes you think you're in for not the best of games. But after that, it gets really good. It's a decent Paper Mario clone. Yeah, been not second guessing myself of late, but I've been looking at, again, with my setups and trying to get things ready for this. Is making I've made mistakes, or I'm fearful of making mistakes going forward. So I look back. Is this last month? I'm not gonna lie. Got more money than we was expecting from both my partner, from her wage, and what I got through Universal Credit. So we made sure all the bills were paid, all the food we had for the month, we could cover all of that. And then, but we added things like we've had steak every week. Not every day, but once a week. For the last 4 weeks, we've had steak on the menu, because we've had that bit of extra money. And then we've made sure the kids have got some new clothes and stuff like that. Treated them to, Lucas has had, a game an extra game, and I bought him his the battle pass for Brawlhalla. A couple of bits. Daughter's had some new bits and little things like that. And then you sit there going, that should have been. I've made a huge mistake. I shouldn't have spent that money. That should have been saved. It should have been put to the side and made sure that when things are short the next month, we've got it there. And then rather than just going, well, no, actually, this is how it's been, because we don't know when we'll have that bit of extra money again, and the kids are miserable enough being shut in or just in the backyard enough. So we've got to try and do what we can to make them smile. We've got to do it for ourselves as well. But I sit there and go, it's a mistake that's going to come. That's going to bite me on the arse in the coming weeks. I shouldn't have done it. And then I get angry when it's suggested, like the kids start going, because they've had a few bits. Oh, Dad, can we have this? Can we have that? And I'm like, no, you're not having it. But they don't understand, because the last few weeks, Daddy's bought them a couple of bits. And then I get a bit moody at them because they're asking for something which, as children, they expect to get. And then when we go shopping, we go from going, shall we add these extra bits in, or shall we get the value chicken, or shall we get the decent chicken, and things like that, and going, we'll get the decent chicken, and then going, can we even afford chicken? Should we get the good chicken, or should we just go for? And you start getting a bit petty with each other. Like when me and my partner goes, we start getting a bit petty with each other, where she goes, what do you want for dinner tonight? And I'll go, do you know what? I actually fancy a Hunter's chicken. So what if we pick up one of those ones in the tray rather than we'll get one of the ones in the tray. It's just easy for when you get home from work. And she's like, but that's like that much money. I don't want that. You're going to have two to yourself then. And which is, that's 2 meals. And we start getting that bit. And so I'm sitting there, all that is running through my head. None of that is actually happening. That's all in my head, coming up to what's coming up to the next payday and knowing what I'm going to get. And it's really crippling, because as far as I'm concerned, I've played out the next month in my head on how things are going to go. And I'm expecting it. So I'm getting short with the kids. I'm getting short with my partner in a way to try and preemptively avoid those interactions. I'm creating other interactions so that I'm protected against it. And it's just trying to now tell myself, doing this, knowing I needed something I wanted to talk about, and seeing this, I'm being able to now mentally reset. I'm trying to pick out when I do go down these rabbit holes of thought and often delusion, getting to the end of that and just going, right, stop. Don't let that be the month. Don't get in your head and force that to be the month that's coming. Just do what comes. You both know you're going to be shorter this month than you was last month in terms of funds. So just reset, take things into consideration, just lower what you do and go from there. And what I found is, again, this isn't news to anyone, or this probably isn't a new technique to anyone, but I found that I will take time now where I can, when my partner's at work and the kids are distracted doing something else, where I will now sit down, I'll stick some music on the headphones, close my eyes and take 15 minutes just to reset my brain. And I suppose in a way, I suppose it's a bit like meditation, isn't it?
I think it serves a similar purpose. Yeah, it's a good idea to do it.
But yeah, it's really weird. I mean, I'm not one. I can't sit there cross-legged, the wrists on my knees and everything like that, and go, but yeah, obviously, I mean, I know that's a stereotype of meditation. I know people who do meditation professionally will scoff at the idea that that's what it is. But yeah, it's really, I've heard people talk about finding things that allow them to meditate being so important to mental health. And again, I've always kind of gone, yeah, that's mumbo jumbo. It's just not what it is. Who gets time to meditate? Because again, I always thought you needed to, if you was going to meditate, you'd be sat there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, just zoned out. And I'm like, I can't do that with kids. There's no way I can zone out with kids for 2 hours. Yeah. But then I just realised just taking that 15 minutes every now and again is really helping me reset where I need it.
Yeah, I think a while ago, not even that long ago, I was kind of similar to you. I kind of thought, I would think, okay, well, I'm going to do this thing that I enjoy. I've been doing a thing that I don't like, washing up or, actual day job or whatever, and it's stressful. I'll do something that I enjoy as a relaxation effort.
Yeah.
But I don't think that resets your brain. I think it, like you said, if you take that time away from it all, that's something that's really needed. And I don't think it's emphasized enough, because you think that, like, by playing a game or whatever, that you're doing that, but you're not, because it's you can play a game but still have all of that stuff from the day spinning around in your head.
Yeah.
Whereas if you sit down and deliberately take time out from it, you can question why you're actually letting that bother you, and just, like you say, do a reset.
Yeah, definitely. And I say one of the things that really got to me, and again, it's just changing how you do things as well. Obviously, I've said in the past, I picked up a semi decent camera so I can start doing some better video recordings. And by the time you listen to this, I should actually have my game capture device as well, so I should actually be able to start them all properly. But I went through a period. I just went, well, why did I spend out on that? Why am I trying to grow this so fast? Why I've made a huge mistake. I shouldn't have spent out on this. It could have gone elsewhere. And I started going, well, it's a massive mistake. I shouldn't have done this. So I went, no, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use this camera and I'm going to try and get back into some photography. So I've been out and about the last few weeks with the family and just been taking pictures when we've been going for our walks. And they're coming out fairly well. But the upshot of that is my son decided he wants to start photography. So he was like, oh, can I get a camera like yours? I was like, well, no, because I don't think I can quite afford another one of those. And he started going, what about one of the old compacts? I mean, they're old. And to be honest, I think old compact cameras from even about a decade ago were just crap. I don't think they do anything. So I said to him, look, mate, what we'll do, we'll go out, take your phone. He's got an iPhone 8, there's cracked screen a lot. It needs fixing. But take your iPhone 8 out, take some pictures while I'm taking them. I said, don't worry about doing clever things like playing with aperture sizes or shutter speeds or anything like that. All I want you to concentrate on is getting good compositions. Take some good photos. And we went out this weekend just gone, and he's blown me away with the photos he's taken. He has got such a good eye, and he's talking about that he wants to now do photography properly. What was initially I thought was going to be a huge mistake in my life by spending out money that I probably could have put elsewhere could lead to something that my son could now do possibly as a career. If he takes it seriously at this age and really gets into photography now at this age, I can get him the starter kit now, and then each year maybe get him a new lens. And then as he goes into college, because he's got the lenses, we can get him one of the higher grade camera bodies for college. Because whatever he does at college, I know the amount that my mum had to spend out on art supplies and design supplies and stuff like that for me for college. That's going to cost as much it would cost to get the camera body. So it's not actually going to cost me any more if he does photography. But what was initially a mistake I felt was able to be reframed, excuse the pun, so that it's actually turned into something that's going to see my son benefit. And I think that's another thing that I'm able to do with these resets as well, is I'm able to look at going, right, hang on, look at this in another way. You're not making mistakes at all. What you're doing is you're making decisions that might not have the most obvious outcome at the start. And do you know what? If he does it and if he only does this photography thing for a couple of months and then gets bored, what you have still got out of it is quality time with your child. And that's never a mistake. And yeah, just being able to, these meditative times. I don't like using meditation because, again, the connotations of the word. That's why I'm calling them resets. Again, we're not professionals, so don't take that as that's a new kind of full technique that you should be using. But just for me, it's what I'm calling it in my mind. But these resets have allowed me just to, again, refocus and reframe decisions I'm making and spin them that they can be positive. And when you suffer like I do and lots of other people do, it's very hard to find the positives in what is an initial mistake.
Yeah.
It's a really weird one, because when I first started thinking about this one, I thought, this is going to be such a horrible one to talk about. I'm going to sound like such a miserable bastard talking about it. But it's felt really good, this one, because it does. You start looking at things in a different way, and I wish there was a way that you could almost view yourself from third person, so that you can actually see it from that different perspective. And I used to look down on vloggers. no, not look down on them, but kind of the YouTube personalities and things like that, kind of look at them and just go, my God, you spend all your time in front of a camera. But they're all, I know it's not a perfect thing and there are mental health issues there, but they have all this footage of themselves that they edit together and they put out a perfect picture of that. But what they're also able to see, because there's a camera at them all the time through their choice, because this is what they're deciding to do, they're actually getting to see from a different perspective at another time all their foibles. And that must help in a way, being able to reframe and refocus certain things.
Self-reflection is a really difficult one, isn't it? Because you can go too far and become completely self-critical. And like you say, like watching yourself back or just even thinking back and critiquing what you've done, again, can be a really good thing. But also it can lead down a spiral that you don't like. Also, it could lead into ego. And there are certainly some sort of stars and people who've become stars on YouTube who it's self-perpetuating. They'll do something that anyone in their right mind would think was a terrible mistake and a poor path to be following. But because their followers justify it and say that it's good or fun, then they think that's okay and then they perpetuate it. So that's one of the curses of being a human being, is that kind of self-reflection. But if you can get a good balance and you can critique yourself reasonably fairly and take a break and reset your brain, I think that's the best that you can possibly be doing. And as long as you're not hurting anybody else in the course of your actions, you're generally pretty much on the right track, as long as you're not hurting yourself in the process.
Yeah, no, it's good. I say I've been resetting. I'd say thankfully I've got now people around me who are much more aware of my mental health. And they don't tippy-toe around me, which is good, but they know on the whole when to say what things. And yeah, but you need to be honest with people, I think, to make sure that they are aware of what they should and shouldn't be saying.
Yeah, honesty can be not just the best policy, but it can be very hard to get to as well. So it's good that you've got to that place in your life where you can be, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Whether that'll be the same in a few weeks, who knows? Because I say we obviously know with mental health that it's never that simple. And what I can say logically now or positively now may not be the same tomorrow, let alone in a few weeks.
Yeah.
But again, why I love doing these podcasts, because we have the opportunities to say these things. And from a pure selfish point of view, I can listen back to any of these now and go, oh yeah, I did make sense then.
Yeah, there's some podcasts where you made sense. I'll mark the ones where you made sense. It won't take you long to go through them.
There's about 2, isn't there?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And also, I think we've mentioned this before. Someone mentioned it to me before, and I'll bring it up again, where it's asked how we can make jokes about certain things. And humour is still, I think, one of the most powerful tools in anyone's arsenal. You've got to be able to look at the humorous side of things. I don't mind people making jokes or anything about mental health or even about my mental health, because it helps it normalize that no one feels they have to tippy toe around it. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think sort of like if you see someone's been really down for a few weeks, making jokes about suicide to them is the best thing, and context is still a major thing, but it's still something that can be done. We talk, when I take my medication, we talk about I've taken my crazy tablet, which I'm pretty sure would be frowned upon if your doctor was to turn around and go, I'm going to prescribe you crazy tablet. But again, it just keeps it lighthearted enough, because again, we've got kids around. I don't want my kids to just be constantly thinking, oh, this is wrong with dad, and because he suffers some severe depression, that we can't say anything. We've got to be really careful. So again, it's another discussion. Humor's an entirely different Humor is an entirely different subject. But again, it's dealing with things. It's just being able to frame things properly, working out when things are the right things to say. And I'm saying things way too often now. But yeah, so have you got anything else you want to add, Stu?
No, nothing really. Only the things that I always say, which is, look after yourself and others and stay safe.
Yeah, you seem to have more sort of calmer weeks than I do. I think I'm trying to wonder what the difference might be there, Stu. what the difference between my life and your life is, that maybe two of them, that are around 13 and 3, that could be the main one.
Probably.
Yeah, don't have kids. That's the takeaway of any of these podcasts. Don't have kids. That's another week down. Like, subscribe, etc., etc. If you're on YouTube, press the bell. I think that's what you meant to tell people to do. If you're watching this on YouTube, by the way, I hope you're enjoying the additions we're starting to make with the video footage. That will get better over time. If you're only listening to the audio, go check out the YouTube videos. They're improving. But yeah, as usual, Discord, come and join us, chat, ask questions, whatever. And if you want to support us, we're on Patreon and Coffee. And again, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can get us all on there. But yeah, thanks for listening. I'm off to Durham, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.